Hi everyone, it's Regan Yan from Digital Alchemy, and I'm here with Justin Theng from SaaS. And today we're going to talk about how to embed customer behavior into digital marketing.
Yeah, human behavior into digital marketing. They seem so opposed to each other. You've got that instinct about what makes people tick, but then you've got this programmatic digital data type of thing. How do you bridge that gap, Regan?
Well, it's really interesting actually. So, in the past, we've when we think about customer behavior, we think about the things that the customer did. So we think about their transactions, we think about their inquiries, and we translate those actions into some sort of insight around what they're about to do next. And so, historically, analytics has always been about interpreting transactions, behaviors, and profiles to find out who we should be talking to. Who should I talk to, and sometimes when should I talk to them? But what we're focused on here is how we should talk to you.
Yeah.
How should I talk to Justin about buying that home loan? Should I make him a rate offer? Should I build a relationship with him? Should I talk to him about what other people are doing? Because we're all different and we all respond to different types of behavioral and psychological stimuluses.
Yeah, they're the triggers, aren't they? Like, 50% off isn't the same as buy one, get one free, even though to an economist, it's the same thing. To a buyer, it's not.
Exactly. And the thing is, each of those offers will be relevant to a group of people. Right. And one of my great frustrations is we spend all of this time, with all of this effort, trying to build models and identify who we should be targeting. And then we hit them with an A/B test. And we assume that there's only two groups of people in the world.
Correct.
And that those two groups of people are going to respond, A or B to what I have to say. And the fact of the matter is there isn't just two groups of people. And in fact, at DA, we've built what we call the periodic table. But we've created, or we've identified 56 different behavioral types.
And are these like psychological triggers, or like FOMO and things like that?
Right, exactly. So fear of missing out, social proof, price anchoring, all these different psychological triggers and that we can use to design offers.
Right. And do you then run them as multivariate, multi-arm bandit type tests? So it's not A/B, but it's like, in social media, you're doing dynamic ads for fear of missing out, for price reduction or discounts, or what? How do you do that programmatically?
Exactly. So obviously all 56 of these behavioral tools that we have aren't relevant in every situation or everything that you're trying to do. But what we do is we systematically go through them all every time we're trying to come up with a proposition, and we choose the ones that are relevant for that. And usually we get to somewhere between 10 and 15 different propositions that are relevant to what we're trying to get done. So to sell the home loan or whatever.
And then you can map it back to actual results. I mean, I think if the viewer were to write down a list of, well, what are the triggers that I know of that have worked in the past? Psychological triggers, behavioral triggers. What would I write down? And people would typically always write down discount, but you got to press yourself to find the other behaviors, and then you can can it and decide to test those in your actual campaigns, as opposed to just ad hoc coming up with campaign headlines and lines. Is that correct?
Yeah. And what's really interesting, actually, when we talk to marketers about this, when you go to university, you learn about, consumer behavior, and you learn about, consumer psychology. And so you learn that there is this diversity of offers. But when you get into the workplace, as you sort of get further and further into, your career, you tend to gravitate towards two or three of these behavioral tools that you use all the time. And it's really interesting when we work with marketers and we walk them back through, all of the behavioral tools, and we walk them through the process, that they go, yeah, it's really, they can see the value. And the other thing is, if all you've ever got is a price or a promotion offer, how many times can you say that?
Yeah, and you become tone deaf. It's like learning
Right.
to play the piano, and all you know is the C button, the C chord. It's like B, C, 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 C. And a brand should be much more diverse than that. You need shadow and tone, and you need to be able to know when to be urgent and when to dial it back. Actually, something that we learned in 2020, most brands don't know when to dial it back and when to be
Right.
urgent, right? It's just
Right.
blast a wall of communication because everyone else is.
Yeah, and so once you've got these diverse messages, you can actually have multiple conversations with the customer about the same thing. Because I'm not saying buy a home loan. I'm talking to you about I'm talking to you about investment opportunities. I'm talking to you about sometimes it'll be a rate offer, sometimes it'll be some information that people in your area are starting to look into housing, to create a social proof, to create an anchor point for that. So
Mm.
what you find is that not only do we respond to different stimuluses, that there's a cumulative impact of being subjected to multiple stimuluses, if you like.
Yes.
And the example I always give is I've got kids that are addicted to YouTube. And YouTubers, I feel like half of the YouTubers are selling NordVPN. And so for about a year, I watched all of these YouTubers telling me that I should get NordVPN and to use their their discount code, et cetera, et cetera. And I never really understood, why do I need a VPN? Until one YouTuber said, you need a VPN so you can watch US Netflix from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that struck a chord with me.
And that's the one thing that just went ding, and everything
Exactly.
fell into place for you. Like, oh, light bulb moment.
Right. So I signed up for NordVPN for 3 years. So even we talk about relevance, right? But relevance has multiple strings to it. So I can have the same conversation with you as long as I don't have it in exactly the same way all the time.
Nice. And
And
that's something that could be tested in
exactly.
parallel. In parallel
Absolutely.
streams, you don't have to wait until a new campaign to test it. You could test various kinds of messaging.
Yeah, we had a client here in Thailand, and they showed me their app, and they had this upgrade offer, upgrade from postpaid to prepaid, or prepaid to postpaid, sorry. And every time you open the app, it gave you the same offer. So if you open the app 10 times in the month, you got the same offer, the same creative, everything was exactly the same.
Right.
And I said, well, if we use behavioral tools, that could be different every time. We still want you to upgrade from prepaid to postpaid.
Yeah, do one a month. Try one a month.
But every time I open the app, I could get a different version
That's
of
right.
that.
Yep.
And so it feels different every time, even though I'm edging you towards the same thing.
Regan, all the friends that you went to high school with have upgraded from prepaid to postpaid. Do you want to?
Exactly. 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 And so, because what we found as well is that your sensitivity to these triggers changes.
Yeah.
It's circumstantial. But what we do in our methodology is that we actually track the triggers that you have responded to. So we progressively build up a profile of the types of triggers and the classification of triggers that you will respond to. So as we gather more data, our approaches to you become more and more refined.
Excellent. And you can run attribution models just on that, because essentially you're not just using channels for channel's sake. You're actually testing various ways to communicate using behavioral tools.
Right. Exactly.
If the video watchers, the listeners want to find out more info about this, what should they do, Regan? Get in touch?
So they can get in touch, or they can come to our website. There's a bunch of content on our website around this stuff. But it's just really exciting, and I think this is the blue ocean of marketing.
I agree.
Everybody's into mining transactions and creating triggers, and I'm not saying that's important. It is. It's absolutely important.
Yep.
It's the bread and butter. But this is the blue ocean. This is the stuff that people aren't doing, and this is where we optimize conversion.
Right. I mean, I've always said data is the guidelines to creativity. It's not the replacement of creativity.
Right. Right.
And you know what? I'll just add to
that. It's an
that.
exciting process.
It is an exciting process. And I'll just add to that, that when you don't have third-party cookie data, and this is a topic all of its own, but if you don't have third-party cookie data and you can't remarket using pixels and things like that, you need to be more creative about the ways you talk to your own database.
Exactly. And you can't keep having the same conversation in exactly the same way.
Exactly.
You know,
Every single month in every single newsletter.
You know, I bought a book recently about how to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I think it's the one thing that as marketers we forget about. We forget that in order to engage people, we need to be interesting.
Yes.
You know, I think, you know what, I mean, this is sort of, you know, me on a soapbox, but I think the avalanche of communication that comes out because it's so cheap and it's so easy to send out email and to put things into social media and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Has actually caused this degradation of creativity and engagement because everything is down to promotion and price.
Yeah, and there's a privacy, Regan. There's a privacy that marketers have that we didn't have before. There's an anonymity. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. I used to work in above the line. So if I put a billboard up and it's a crap billboard, literally people in my industry, other people in my industry will know who put up that billboard. So there's a sense of public, I guess, shame. It's not shame, but you can't just throw garbage out and then hope that nobody knows it's you. They'll know. Whereas with email, you could throw garbage out all day, every day. No one will know who did it. I mean, the customer, the recipient will know, but no, your peers won't.
Your competitors, it's very hard. It's very hard for them to unpack it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, you know, if you think about it, that's where true competitive advantage is. If you can connect to customers in a unique way because you understand not only when they're going to buy, but how they like to be served that message, then that's something that your competitor can look at all of the billboards and all of the advertising in the world that you have and never understand why you're successful.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. If you can nail customer experience, it's very hard to copy. You can't fake that stuff. I mean,
you can't fake it because nobody else has the data.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else knows except you and your customer. Like we know, you know. I mean, if they leave a review and they say what you did that was special, I suppose that's one way of telling.
Right. But the data that we have on our customers, you know, describes our unique relationship with them.
Correct. It's a profile and a history of our relationship. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Very good. Well, Regan, we could probably save a lot more of this for the next episode. So yeah, as Regan said, guys, if you're interested in this, there are links in the descriptions. Otherwise, yes, head to Digital Alchemy's website and definitely check out some of the content around behavioral tools. It's very, very exciting.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.